Welcome into the Gig'em 24/7 Sports Podcast. I am Andrew Hattersley, joined with a special guest today, Sam Smith, who is out in Omaha as Texas A&M gets ready to play in the College World Series. Decided to do a special podcast today to preview the weekend. As I mentioned, Sam's on the ground there in Omaha. Sam, thanks for joining us, man.
Oh, Andrew, it's my pleasure, man. We just had a little rainstorm roll in. A few Auburn Tigers got wet, but now the Ole Miss Rebels are heading out there to practice.
Yeah, we're both kind of on the road here. We're wrapping up the penultimate day of Texas A&M football camp. So another good day. We'll have everything coming over on the site there in a little bit. But this one we're going to talk a little baseball. Sam, you were out at Texas A&M's practice this morning, as you know, woke up in the wee hours of the morning to get here.
That I did.
What tell us what you kind of saw and what you kind of saw.
Well, it was really interesting. I had a chance to talk to a lot of the coaches and some of the kids too, and I just have to tell you, they are fired up, but they're also extremely focused. You can tell that they're here, they got a job to do, and so I don't think the stage is going to be too big for these guys. I think they know they've got some unfinished business, and yeah, it's a shocker to a lot of people on the national media circuit that the Aggies did what they did this year, but they're no longer shocked. This is a team that is to be reckoned with, and I think the kids and the coaches are ready to go.
Yeah, I was good. That was gonna be my question: is how do you think they are going to handle this stage? Just being, obviously there's, it's a newish team, but there's a lot of guys with postseason experience and guys like Troy Clonch and Micah Dallas who have obviously been in this sort of situation before. So how do you think they're going to handle this sort of stage?
Well, you kind of have to lean back on what Troy Clonch told the guys before they won the Super Regional. They said, hey, guys, if we win, no dogpile in the middle. We only dogpile one time. That's when we win the whole thing. And so that is Troy Clonch's attitude. But I will tell you, there's quite a few guys. Jacob Polish is the same way. I mean, you've got guys that have come through that have been here before. Micah Dallas, for instance. Micah was on cloud nine. He had his Pringle can ready to roll and all that kind of good stuff. But truthfully, Micah Dallas has a history here of doing quite well with the Red Raiders when he was here. And truthfully, the expanse of this ballpark, I mean, the Chuck is not Bluebell. And so you're not going to see the balls rocketing out of here like you would, a Bluebell or a Dish Falk or any of the other places that, maybe some of the super regionals were played in. This was a ballpark that was designed for minor league baseball in addition to hosting the College World Series. And so it's pretty expansive. And a lot of guys on the A&M team have been here before. And I think their leadership's going to actually make a huge difference for these guys.
Yeah, and so Nathan Detmer, Jim Schlossnagel confirmed will get the ball first for Texas A&M. How do you think he kind of matches up against Oklahoma? And I think the key for him is really, one, fielding his position, but two, just finding the strike zone early and keeping the ball down, really.
Yeah, I would really say just spotting his pitches. I mean, Nathan Detmer is a kid that has got good stuff, and he certainly can keep Oklahoma at bay if he does what he's capable of doing. The real question is he going to come out and throw strikes? I mean, that is all that Schlossnagel wants. When I was talking with the coach earlier today, I mean, he's pretty fired up about it and has a lot of confidence in Nathan as well as in Micah. And so, these guys just have to come out and do it. And, what Micah has started to do and what Nathan has to do is just throw strikes. You get the ball over the plate, and you know what? If the guys put it in play, let your defense back you up. And, Nathan got, kind of burned a little bit at the SEC tournament with that. But, this is not Hoover. This is at Omaha, and, I mean, these guys are focused. And I think our defense is going to step it up, and you're not going to see 4 errors in one inning like Nathan got the last time he tried this.
Yeah, and for me, I think it also kind of benefits this format. You can be a little more aggressive with the bullpen, especially early on. I think that's one thing when you look at A&M and trying to get a win in this first game. I wouldn't be surprised to see them be pretty aggressive with the bullpen and guys like Moon Menifee could get an early call.
Well, I don't think there's any question that they have no hesitation to go to our bullpen whenever they need to go to it. But I will tell you, if A&M really wants to make a roll and actually make a run into the College World Series, we need these starters to get us, 5 or 6 good innings and, give us a chance. And what I mean by that is just keep us in the ball game. Give us time to get to that bullpen that has has shown the propensity to help us out. Now, the nice thing about this is that, when you get a day off in between, the one bracket plays one day and then the next bracket plays the next. And so early on here, you've got a little bit of time to kind of rest your bullpen if you use them a little bit. And so I do think that all plays into A&M's hand. I also will tell you, I think our bullpen is actually going to be a lot more effective pitching in this wide ballpark. The key thing for A&M is defense, and those outfitters better be ready to get on their heel or get on their toes and go after the baseball, because there are going to be a lot of hits into the gaps this week. And I think it pays off for A&M's offense, but it's also going to put our defense under a lot of pressure too.
No doubt. And I know you're out there. So how's the view from out there? Where are you kind of stationed? And
Well, right now,
what can you say about the ballpark?
Kind of show you a little bit while I'm talking. Obviously, you can see Ole Miss is actually down there for their practice session, but I'm actually going to be in a great spot. I've got phenomenal seats. I actually am in one of the boxes and going to be watching all the games. So I'm pretty excited and pretty jazzed about it. But, I've spent most of the day out here at the ballpark watching all these practice sessions and watching the guys and, just trying to get a feel for the teams and just try to understand, kind of how they're, taking in the situation. Obviously, some of these teams have been here fairly recently. Some have been here a few times, but there's quite a few guys that have never really been here and been on this stage. So it's interesting to see how they're going to take it.
Yeah, and I know when you look at Oklahoma, as we talked about, just looking at the other teams in their bracket, Oklahoma is a team we talked about quite a bit when we when we first previewed the bracket. This is one of the hottest teams coming in. What do you think the keys are to slowing them down? I know it's obviously getting off to a good start pitching wise, but what can you tell us about Oklahoma and what challenges they present?
Well, I will tell you, Oklahoma takes advantage of opportunities, and that's the key: is don't give them any opportunities. And so you don't give them any free outs. They're a decent ball club. They're certainly hot. At the same time, I don't want to overrate it and get people all fired up just because they've been a little on the hot streak. They've caught teams at the right time. They take advantage of your mistakes and they've made them pay. At the same time, this is a team that is very. You lost me there for a second, huh?
Yeah, I lost you there for a second.
Sorry about that. I got a phone call and I think it knocked me off for some reason. So.
Yeah, it knocked you off. So a little technical challenges, but we got you back now. So just looking back at Oklahoma, like I was kind of mentioning before, and apologies to those watching on the podcast. We had some technical difficulties there.
Yeah,
but
sorry about that. It's what happens when you're live from
when you're live on the road. We were talking about Oklahoma and just what challenges they kind of present. I know you mentioned, not to overrate, not to, kind of hype them up as too much, but yeah, they obviously do come in playing well. Just what are some of the keys that you were kind of mentioning to slowing them down?
Well, they're a decent offense, but what I will tell you is you just don't give them free outs. And so if A&M plays good defense and pitches well, A&M's going to keep them in check. Their offense is decent. They're not overwhelming. I will tell you, A&M 1 through 9 is a more solid team. That being said, A&M starts making errors and giving them a bunch of free outs. Not a good thing, especially in the College World Series. And so, the key thing with a team like Oklahoma is they're hot, and they'll continue to be that way until somebody slows them down. And A&M certainly has the ability to do that. I would also mention, a lot of people have been talking about their pitching. They've got a kid that's a very decent start. Their number one guy, he's decent, but he'd probably be a Saturday or Sunday starter in the SEC. So, this kid is giving them a lot of innings, but he's also giving up a ton of runs. And he's not, to be flat honest with you, he reminds me of Ryan Prager. He's a good, solid pitcher. Got a lot of potential, but he can be hit. And so the key thing with A&M, no free outs. Don't give up any free outs. And then we got to work their pitchers, get them into their bullpen. Do the same thing that A&M's done all the way along. And I will tell you, A&M is frustrating the heck out of the pitchers they've been facing. They certainly are methodic. And, Michael Yearley's done a really good job of making sure that, this team is doing what it needs to do at the plate to not give up any, if you're not throwing a strike, we're not going to hit it.
And this bracket obviously looks maybe, I think obviously Tennessee people wouldn't have kind of pegged this bracket to look the way it did at the beginning of the tournament. But how do you think this kind of sets up for Texas A&M? Obviously, with Notre Dame knocking off Tennessee, Texas being in there as well. How do you think this kind of sets up for A&M with everybody else in the region? How do you think they kind of match up?
Well, I guess what I would tell you is I do think A&M got a great bracket. They really did. Now, obviously, Texas has on paper they've got some solid players. They got good players, but truthfully, they have been hit and miss all year. Truthfully, Texas is lucky to be here. East Carolina had them on the road, and East Carolina should be here, but Texas was able to figure out a way to get here. So, hats off to Texas, and they certainly can make a run. But all these national pundits that keep talking about how Texas is the favorite, oh, gag me. There's no way. I mean, I'm sorry. They're a decent team, and yes, the Hispanic Titanic is a really good batter, and he's going to hit the baseball and all that. But at the end of the day, it's the same team A&M faced, in midweek. They've got plenty of warts. They've got kids that have underperformed, and they're certainly not near and have the momentum that A&M has had. The team that I would keep an eye on, though, is Notre Dame. Notre Dame is a very veteran team. They've got a lot of graduate students. They've got a lot of older kids that play phenomenal defense. They're by far the best defensive team in the bracket. And I will tell you, I would not be surprised to see Notre Dame knock off Texas tomorrow. It's very possible. And so you kind of throw it all together. A&M got the best bracket it could get. I actually think the other bracket is much more competitive. Now, I do think A&M would do really well in the other bracket too, but Arkansas has got the best pitching in the entire 8 teams that are here. Stanford is a solid team. They don't have overwhelming pitching, but they've got good defense, smart kids that can play. They were number 2 in the Pac-12. The fact that Auburn knocked off Oregon State at the Beavers' home field, hats off to Auburn. I mean, Auburn's got decent pitching, and they beat us 2 out of 3, and they certainly can give everybody a run over there. And Ole Miss is about as hot as A&M is right now from the standpoint of, they were lucky to get in the tournament, and they took full advantage and knocked out Miami in their bracket, and then did what they had to do at Southern Miss. And I do think that they're a team that's on the rise. And on paper, remember at one time that was the number 1 team in the country. Now they certainly have not played up to that level, but they're doing it more now than they ever have the whole season. So I really think when it's all said and done, Texas A&M has just as big a chance to make a run here and win this whole thing as anybody else. But it's kind of a toss-up. It's who makes less errors, who gives up less free outs, and who swings the sticks and makes it happen. What I will tell you is don't look for home run fest. There's certainly going to be some home runs hit here, but there's going to be a lot of people hitting into the gaps, and I think that plays right into A&M's hitting styles. I mean, Michael Early has taught them to barrel up the ball and line drives. And I would fully expect A&M to hit a bunch of balls to the fences and a lot of these gaps that are out here. I mean, this is a huge ball field. And so our outfielders, have got to be ready to play. But I think our offense is going to make some pitchers quite anxious fairly quickly into this.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned the odds a little bit earlier. There was an outlet, I believe it was DraftKings, that had Texas A&M with the lowest odds to win the College World Series of all. What did you make of that? What do you think it is behind that? Do you think it's the questions about starting pitching, maybe defense that they kind of look at? But what did you kind of make of that when you saw that?
Well, I tell you what I made of it. It's basically how money's being bet. It really has nothing to do with how good the team is or whatever. It's where they think they can get the most money bet and so forth. And I do think that anybody that was able to pick up what was A&M plus 800 or something is what I saw.
Yeah.
Tremendous value. And there are a lot of teams that are very, very overrated in all that. Now, each agency is different. I noticed A&M was in a totally different mode in a couple of other places, but in that particular case, man, I would go all in with A&M on that because that's the best value to your money. But don't read anything into it. They don't know anything other than how money is being bet, and they're playing the money coming in and adjusting to that. And so you'll see that adjust. A lot of Aggies are going to probably jump on that, and you're going to see those odds come down really quickly because they're all about making money when they start playing with the odds.
No doubt, and I wanted to get your take as well before we take off here. That we spoke to you at the beginning you obviously did your preview at the beginning of the year and kind of talked about how immensely talented this team is. But The way that they've been able to kind of bond together and reach this point, especially Brian and I talked about it on the podcast earlier this week about the way this team has just been able to come from behind in a couple different scenarios. Um,
There we are.
There we are. We got you back.
Sorry, I think the internet service is a little iffy right now at the stadium. We've had a pretty big thunderstorm and lightning storm come in that actually ran everybody off the field. That
Yeah,
might be the problem. But I did hear your question related to my preview and all that. But what was the full question?
yeah.
Because I
Just
kind of got cut off.
what have you made of just the way they've been able to come back in so many games this year and gel together? And as you've kind of watched this tournament run now, that they've been on, what have you kind of made of it, and how quickly this team has truly gelled together?
Well, I think I got some of the gist of what you just said, but it was breaking up. So I do
Yeah,
think this lightning storm was messing
yeah,
with you. But what I will tell you is when I wrote my preseason preview, I told everybody that we had some outstanding kids, had a lot of talent, but they had just needed to gel together. And it took a while. And, really coming out of that Houston game, A&M didn't look that great. Heading it down to Alex Box Stadium and facing the Tigers at LSU, we just didn't really know would they get it together. But I don't know if it was that fiery speech by Coach Schlossnagle talking about the Pringles or what, but boy, they caught on. And I got to tell you, I mean, I've been talking to a lot of people from a lot of different groups here, all 8 teams, and every one of them has said, we really don't really want to face the Aggies. And I would agree with that. I think the Aggies are playing with a ton of confidence. They have plenty of skill. Yes, they've got some issues, but so does every other team here. And so I think this team has done exactly what Schlossnagle and Yeski and Mike Lurley thought it would do. But at the same time, no one ever really projected they'd get all the way to the College World Series. So pretty exciting, and it's going to be a few days around here. I got to tell you, this is utopia for me. So I'm a happy camper.
You're trying to stay there as long as possible, right into next week, and as much as you can get off work and stay up there. I know you'd love to make this a long stay up there. Well, I know, buddy. I know the internet's cutting out, so but I really appreciate you kind of doing this and giving a preview of for fans to expect. Heading into tomorrow and the rest of the weekend. Enjoy yourself up there, and we'll catch up again soon.